Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. This may look a little bit different in the background than usual, and that is actually because I am currently in Savannah, Georgia for my husband's work conference thing, and he is currently out at conferences all day and tomorrow, and I am stuck in the hotel room because I am terrified to drive in Savannah with my husband's enormous truck. I should have brought my car instead. We should have driven my car, but I did not think that the streets were so tight. And I could use an Uber, but I'm just like, the introvert in me is terrified of Uber. I've never used it alone. So I'm just gonna take this time to read. I'm actually currently working on the Wayward Children series, but I'm actually swerving and I'm gonna read some mystery thriller horrors while I'm actually here because we went on a ghost tour last night. So much fun. So that is coming up. That's actually what I'm working on. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly explain we're in Savannah, but we gotta talk about some stuff going on. We gotta talk about what was just released a couple of days ago and the drama that is following. I did not think this is going to turn into like, it's not like a drama channel. This is just really important stuff we need to talk about. Also, the lighting in here, absolutely atrocious. I did not think I was actually going to be filming it all this weekend, but then this came out and yeah, so the lighting is bad. Most of my light is coming from my computer onto my face. This room does not light up at all and it's super gloomy outside. So we're gonna do our best with this lighting, but we need to talk about the Hugo Awards because yikes. If you don't know, which I didn't know until a couple of subscribers kind of brought it to my attention, there have been some drama things that have accompanied the Hugo Awards for the 2023 nomination year. Every year they end up releasing the statistics of the voting and etc. to show like transparency of this is how many votes this got, this is how many votes this got, etc. So with the release of the results this year, 3 notable ineligibilities came out. There's another one that I actually found in there that is not being talked about as much, but I have included this guy in this list. So technically there is 4 unexplained ineligible people or works, and it's very bizarre. There's a lot of conspiracy theories that are surrounding it. There's a lot of issues that are now being brought up about the Hugo Awards. I didn't know that much about the Hugo Awards other than that they are science fiction award ceremonies, whatever. I didn't know anything about the voting process. I didn't know anything about where they were held. I thought it was kind of just like an online thing where you had a panel of prolific science fiction readers and writers and they kind of decide who wins that year. That is not what this is. That is not what the Hugo Awards are at all. So before we kind of get into the actual meat of the drama, let's kind of go over what the Hugo Awards are, how the voting works, who can vote, which is kind of the most surprising part to me, and kind of the surrounding drama with it. So I did pull a lot of information like before when I did my last kind of like in-depth review of something. All my links etc are down below where I got my information from. If I get anything wrong, I will definitely correct it on a newer video, and I will put it in the information below this video. So yeah, let's get into the breakdown of the Hugo Awards. So according to their website, the Hugo Awards were first presented in 1953 and presented annually since 1955. They are science fiction's most prestigious award, and I want you to remember that because as we go through the voting process and who can vote, but did I go Australia for a second? Who can vote and where the voting happens and the counting of the ballots, etc. That may come into question of being the most prestigious award for science fiction. They may need to do some retooling if you that as being like your, hey, this is what's up. Yeah, because right now, like, yeah, maybe you're one of the only science fiction awards ceremonies and like everybody knows about you, but I don't know if you would call it prestigious based on the actions of this year especially, and now what I've learned about the history of the voting, etc. You might agree to like disagree with my take on that, but I have a lot of feelings about award ceremonies in general. I love artists, and this goes for actors and movies and TV shows, etc., and directors, because there's some drama with the Barbie movie too. I think, what was it, Greta, the Barbie movie director wasn't nominated, something like that, which is crazy. I didn't even like Barbie and I think that's crazy. So I have a lot of feelings about award shows, and because award ceremonies ceremonies are run by people, there's always going to be a ton of errors, and sometimes there's just so many egregious errors that you're looking at it like, is this even legitimate? Like, is this even legitimate at all? Like, at all. So that's what I'm starting to get the vibes when I was researching this. I was like, is this even like, this is like equivalent to Goodreads. Like, okay, I'll get to it when we get to the voting. And again, a lot of you are probably going to disagree. You're going to like how it's done. I personally am not a fan of how it's run, but I don't know how you would do it any better. So I can't that's the problem with these. I don't know how you would do it better to get less issues, but we're going to talk about it. So the Hugo Awards are voted on by members of the World Science Fiction Convention, or Worldcon, which is also responsible for administering them. The WSFS is really just a framework for the individual Worldcons. It has no officers and no permanent organization other than the MPC, which is responsible for registering and defending WSF's marks through WIP, and its marketing subcommittee, which runs this website. So we already are running into like a problem. Like, that's already a problem, because if you have no officers, no standing organization, how are you really like having a framework for voting and making sure that the right people are voting and that these nominations and voting are legitimate, which they say. So you basically pay, I think it's $50 now, and that's how you become a voter. You pay $50 and you can vote and nominate. Like, if you really want to like take over the Hugo Awards as like a country or a group of people, you can get a bunch of people just to give $50 and nominate whoever you want. And I don't like, it's so weird, right? To me that just seems strange. To me, I really thought it was like, again, an organization of people who really know science fiction and who are like going through these things methodically and coming up with like these reasons why they're so good. I wasn't expecting this to be like almost a glorified Goodreads. Like, it's like if you were to pay $20 to vote on Goodreads, which again, it would sort out a lot of people who aren't taking it seriously or haven't read a bunch of the books, but you're still running into problems there. So I thought this was very strange, because again, I thought the Hugo Awards were like yeah. And now reading this kind of stuff, I'm like, there's a lot of issues here that can be exploited, and that's basically what has happened. So it says voting for the awards is open to all members of the World Science Fiction Society, and to become a member, all you have to do is buy a membership in that year's Worldcon. So like I said, $50. There is also a view within WSFS that it is a good thing to limit voting to genuine fans, people who really care about science fiction and fantasy. And again, all this so far is from their website directly. This isn't even speculation, this is directly pulled from their site. So like I said, yeah, you're limiting it somewhat, but like, I don't know. It's so weird. Anyway, I already talked about this. Okay, in addition, you get the right, so your $50 basically gives you a vote in the current Worldcon, and it also gives you the right to help choose where a Worldcon is held. Right now, the current voting is held 2 years ahead of the convention. So I think how it said, basically, if you buy in 2024, you could vote for 2026, because right now they already have 2024 and 2025 listed as where they're going to be, because I think it said 2024 is like Glasgow. So again, because you have no standing committee that is vetting the countries that you want to like bring the Worldcon to, this was an issue with the World Cup. The World Cup this past year, was it the drama? Because there was, where was it held this year? Yeah, so the World Cup had similar drama where basically World Cup, the Olympics, etc., you can bid, countries bid to get these giant things like to be brought to their country because it brings in a bunch of money, etc. And so the World Cup, they have a committee and they still chose Qatar. Like, you want every country to have a chance to host World Cup. You want to have everyone see the world. I mean, that's the thing. You want each country to be equal and for everyone to see that side of the world and have pride in your country, etc. However, there was a huge issue with human rights violations that was going in Qatar, especially to build the actual arena. Like, they didn't have the infrastructure for the World Cup in Qatar at the time, so they like rush built it, and there's tons of human rights violations. There was a lot of stuff coming out on TikTok, in the news, about all these horrible things happening, and Qatar was hiding actually what was going on. And then there was an issue of LGBTQ plus rights in Qatar. They said, oh, it's not going to be a problem, and then it started becoming a problem, and then we had issues with reporters who were reporting on it, and they were saying, well, you can't report on that. So there's a lot of issues with that. And so anytime you have something that is a world thing, a world award ceremony, a sporting event, etc., it needs to be vetted for the safety and the equality of everyone involved. And this is where we start running into the current drama with the Hugo Awards. So because you don't have a committee really vetting where this is going, the Hugo Awards kind of are just like, where wins it goes. Obviously, I feel like if it's really unsafe, well, I don't know, like, because I don't know exactly like the super history of this, but all I know is that Chengdu, China won the ability to host the awards for 2023. China, I've had plenty of friends to visit China. They loved it. They thought it was really fun to visit. It definitely has some rules that you have to follow. You want to be careful of certain things, but there is definitely a difference between a lot of the world and China in human rights and LGBTQ plus and freedom of speech problems. So when you have an award ceremony type thing, you might have problems. And issues were raised about what is going to be the impact of holding this science fiction award ceremony in Chengdu, China. And it seems like there may actually be a problem that has happened, because as far as we know, there have been, like I said, 4 authors that have been ineligible without reason. So in the actual statistics that they released on, what was it, the 21st? I think it was either the 23rd or the 21st. And in the actual document, there are like, people will it'll say ineligible for so-and-so reason, like it is in another category, or they were nominated last year, they weren't supposed to be, or they took themselves out. There's a lot of authors like Becky Chambers, she took herself out of the awards, so it's listed like she took herself out. But there's 4 people in, I guess, 1 TV show actually, so 3 people in a TV show who were disqualified. They were seen as ineligible with no reason next to their name, and the chairman, or I have what he is listed down below, whatever he is, came out and just didn't have a very good reasoning. So now that we have the kind of the backbone of the Hugo Awards, where the Hugo Awards are administered. Oh yeah, and because the other problem with it being that you need to vet these countries, because it's not just like a China problem. You just need to vet how the voting is done. In addition to it being held in Chengdu, the Worldcon is responsible for administering and counting the votes. So that also means that Chengdu does get to administer and count the ballots. So again, they're the ones who do the statistics, and that could show a bit of a problem later on. So I hate talking about this because I feel like China is just slammed so much in the media for stuff. A lot of Asian cultures have gotten a lot of crap for COVID, so it just really sucks that this is like compounding on top of it, because it just is bad. I don't like talking about it. But we have to have fairness and equality, especially when 2 of the ineligible writers are Chinese. So it definitely seems like China's trying to punish them for speaking out, and we're gonna get into that. So the 4 that I've found that are ineligible, 3 of them are talked about a lot, 1 a little bit less, but it still needs to be talked about. So we have Babel by R.F. Kuang, which probably would have won based on the statistics that we were looking at, and I'll go over the statistics later. But they were voted for, they were nominated 3rd, and their ballots were stopped counting after the first round. So it goes through like these rounds of counting, And by the end, you have more than obviously than the first round. And everyone else's votes went up, but Babel stopped after the first round. So it is very much possible that Babel actually won the category, but we won't know because the ballots were stopped counting for that one. And I don't know if it's because they knew it was gonna win, so they didn't want to show the statistics, or they just like immediately were like ineligible because of this author and potentially their beliefs in what they've spoken out about in the past. Again, we will get to that. Another author was, if again I might be saying these wrong, Zirin J. Zhao, the author of Iron Widow and now Heavenly Tyrant that just came out. They were disqualified for Astounding Award, and again, it looks like they had their ballots finished and they would have come in fourth, but they were ineligible. They were knocked out. They weren't allowed to actually be fourth place. Then we have a TV show. I don't know if it was a specific episode. I was a little confused about the TV show, how the TV shows worked. The Sandman, which is a Neil Gaiman production, whatever, I think he wrote the original thing or whatever, that was disqualified, and Neil Gaiman's very upset about it. He's not happy about it. Again, we'll get to that one. And then the last one that not as many people are talking about is a guy named Paul Weimer. He has been a finalist in previous years, but for some reason wasn't eligible this year, even though he was like up there. He was up there for best fan writer. And there is a little bit of a caveat with this one. While I was doing my deep dive, there may be some inappropriate behavior on his part. It is unsubstantiated, so I am not going to talk about it. If you ask about it, I'm not going to talk about it because I did not see anything else that actually like proves that it happened. But there is like a thread that he may have done. There may have been some inappropriate behavior on his part that could have excluded him. But you think that that would have been included as an actual reasoning instead of leaving his blank along with these other writers, because there is a different reason potentially why he was excluded, that this may not be the actual reason. Again, I don't know if this is actually true, which is why I'm not going to talk about it past that. So moving on to the statistics of it, and then we're going to kind of get into examples. So this is directly from Polygon. Polygon had a really, really good article. Again, it's listed down below, and this is what they had to say about the statistics of Babel specifically, because that one seems like the most targeted. That one seems like it should have probably won. It's won 2 previous awards in other award ceremonies, and so this one was definitely looked at a little bit more than the others. As the statistics show, Babel had the 3rd highest number of nominations of the 15 books on the long list for Best Novel, and only 5 fewer than the eventual winner, T. Kingfisher's Nettle and Bone. Yet, as the nominee pool dwindled throughout the consecutive voting rounds, Babel never gained any additional points. This pattern is beyond strange, as presumably at least some of the votes that had previously gone to the knocked out books would shift to Babel. Instead, its score remained the same until it was knocked out in the final round and declared ineligible. So basically, as you go through, books that are lower down, they are knocked out, and then the ballots are redone and redistributed, etc., to the books that are left. Just, I mean, same as Goodreads, where you vote and then you vote again. So Babel should have gotten more votes. It is unlikely that they would not have gotten any more votes. That is weird. That basically just proves they weren't counting them after that point. That's all it is. Like that's yeah, because the other ones, again, that were ineligible did continue to get votes. So that is the only book in the entire thing that did not get any more votes after round 1. So something happened with that. Something went wrong, aka they stopped counting ballots for it. And then the other ineligible were finished counting and they didn't win, but Zirin did come in 4th and then ruled ineligible, which we talked about, the author of Iron Widow. So File 770 is another, that article is so good. It's so good. Again, it's listed down below. This is a little bit long, but we're getting into the actual speculation because there's a lot, because right now we have the Israel-Palestine war going on right now. We have the award ceremony, which a lot of authors have spoken about it being in China and the issues that they're worried about with LGBTQ plus rights and people generally speaking out against the politics in China. So a lot of people were afraid that was going to impact. So there's a lot of speculation about what possibly happened. We don't know because we haven't been given an answer. So File 770 came up with a pretty good thing. They asked this guy named Kevin Stanley, who they say is among one of the best known interpreters of the WSFS Constitution. So what this guy pointed out, he had an article in Elections Have Consequences. An overwhelming majority of the members of WSFS who voted on the site the 2023 Worldcon selected Chengdu, China as the host of the 2023 Worldcon. That meant that the members of the WSFS who expressed an opinion accepted that the convention would be held under Chinese legal conditions. When it comes to local law, this could end up applying anywhere. Here's an example I can use because, as far as I know, there are no Worldcon bids for Florida at this time. Imagine a Worldcon held in Florida. It would be subject to US and Florida law. Any smaller government subdivision. Given legislation passed by Florida, it would not surprise me if such a hypothetical Florida Worldcon Hugo administration subcommittee would disqualify any work with LGBTQ+ content, any work with an LGBTQ+ author, or any LGBTQ+ individual because the state has declared them all illegal under things like their Don't Say Gay or trans laws and related legislation. So I thought that was a really good way to say, like, this is what probably would happen if it's held somewhere else. Here's an example of why people were concerned it was held in China, and because of the laws and because of the political demeanor towards some of these underrepresented groups. That is a concern. That is a concern, and it does seem like it possibly happened here. At least two of the authors do identify as part of the LGBTQ+ community, so that is also a possibility. It could not even be their political views. It could be what they identify as. And then when asked, File 770 asked Dave McCarty, who is the Chengdu Worldcon Vice Chair and co-head of the Hugo Awards Selection Executive Division, what was the reason for declaring some people and works not eligible, and his response was, after reviewing the Constitution and the rules we must follow, the administration team determined those works/persons were not eligible. So it's a non-answer. It's literally a non-answer. Like that didn't give us anything. That didn't give any reasoning. That just said, hey, someone broke a rule. But like, what rule? Because as far as anyone can tell, there were no rules broken. It definitely seems more like what this other guy is talking about, this Kevin Stanley guy, that it does seem like it's less a Hugo Awards thing and more it seems like they were bullied into following Chinese law, but Chinese law not being stated in the actual like reasonings why. Like they're not going to say what it is. So the last thing that File 770 that I got from them is they had a quote from Cheryl Morgan. I don't know exactly who she is, but they said she's heavily involved in Worldcon and was not happy about this and released a statement that said it would have been very easy to manipulate the statistics that were released so no one would ever notice what happened. Instead, what was released is a set of nomination statistics that makes it very clear that shenanigans have taken place. Maybe we should be thinking about why they did that. And that is a very good point. Like, Chengdu and the government obviously probably directly had their hands in this. Because again, this hasn't really been that much of an issue in past years. So why wouldn't they just cover up what they did? Like you don't have to actually release the actual statistics. You could have just wiped them and said like this didn't actually receive enough votes. So why was it shown? Like, is this, I don't know. I don't have an answer. But I think it's a really good point that was brought up because there's no reason that they had to do that and cause all this drama unless like it was accidentally released but actually it was released a day later than it was supposed to. Like they're supposed to release these statistics within like a certain window and they didn't. They released it like a day later than they were supposed to. So that points to like something weird going on as well, unless they just forgot. I don't know. Maybe they just forgot to press like publish. I don't know. But I don't know, and we don't know because there's no permanent committee that oversees stuff like this. Like you should have a permanent committee at least to count the ballots. Like why? Like why don't you have people you know and trust to count these ballots? I don't know. And I also don't know enough about like counting ballots and how that would work and different systems you can use, but I feel like there's got to be a better system than you are at the mercy of the country that you're holding the fair in. That just seems so strange because again, it's not just China, it is anywhere that has any type of laws that would discriminate against somebody. So you gotta have a better system to deal with a potential problem like this, because how have you not realized that this could be a potential problem? So on to more conspiracy theories about the specific works. And again, most of this is done by Polygon. Polygon was really, really good article. I would definitely read it. It was very thorough and very interesting, and it had the most information on it, because it was a little bit hard to find like a ton of information because Hugo is being so quiet about it and not really showing their hand. So I assume they're gonna release a statement later on, and we can talk about the statement when it comes out, if one comes out, but right now they haven't, so it's weird. So anyway, Babbel, like I said, Babbel is the one that like really seemed to piss off the voting system. And there's a couple of reasons potentially for that. So R.F. Kuang puts a lot of interesting background of China in her books. It's very, very, very cool. Has a lot of depictions of China in her fiction, and we've seen some problems with her previous work with the Poppy War. Apparently the Poppy War political content is, R.F. Kuang says, one of the reasons the series was never translated into Chinese, which is like crazy. Like I assumed like all of her works would be translated, but yeah, that points out an obvious problem, and R.F. Kuang said herself that it was the politics in the Poppy War. So that could definitely be a problem, and R.F. Kuang could be on some sort of list, like this is a no-go kind of thing. There are suspicions that R.F. Kuang's depictions of China in her fiction, as well as her own politics, are what led to Babbel's disqualification in the Hugos. So that is kind of the big thing. And also, I want to say that Kuang and Zhao have been anti-genocide for Palestinians, and that has been a sore spot with a lot of governing bodies, so that also could have been a reason as well. So for Zhao, they have publicly spoken out against the Chinese government and in support of Palestine, and their debut novel Iron Widow is inspired by China's only female emperor, Wu Zixin. When Zhao posted a TikTok about their Hugo disqualification, it was removed, and TikTok is owned by a Chinese company. So I mean, this is turning into like a giant conspiracy theory about what's going on, because that is very suspicious. That is very suspicious. The amount of stuff that it's on TikTok, and that's what's removed. Moving on to Paul Weimer, there wasn't a lot about this person. He has been a nominated person before, so it's not an issue with that. What Polygon said potentially is that in 2021, Weimer did express concerns about the attention that Chengdu Worldcon would draw from the Chinese government. So he was less upset about it being actually in Chengdu versus like the Chinese government putting their hands in it. Like, it would be no problem at all to hold it there if the government kind of stayed out of the actual award ceremony. So he did express concerns about it. It doesn't seem like enough to draw attention, but I mean, he was ineligible for some reason, and we don't know what it is, and that would seems like most likely the best guess. And then we have the Sandman, which again, Gaiman is very upset about. Neil Gaiman said the Sandman is neither political, should this be a problem, nor pornographic, ditto. Gaiman commented, is it the black actor playing death, the reference to Judaism, the life after death, stating that it was ineligible for reasons that you cannot tell us simply adds a level of mystery to the process that makes the entire Hugo voting process appear illegitimate and does the winner no favors. He's very angry. And he brings up a lot of stuff, like there's a lot of different type of religious stuff in the Sandman and in his science fiction works. So it's maybe, I don't know. I don't want to say anything other than that. I'm just giving the facts and what other people said. The politics of a country, any country, would be an absolute deep dive to go into. So I do think that the argument, like with Florida is a major problem in the United States when it comes to LGBTQ plus rights. And I like that analogy, that if you were to put it in Florida, there probably would be a lot of drama. There would be a lot of drama there. So it is potentially the same situation that is happening in China. And it is very interesting if Hugo will put out some sort of statement, because I'm sure they're talking about it right now. This is all over the news right now because this is a huge problem. You have, Babbel probably should have won or at least been up there. Like, it was third place, and yeah, it's just drama. It's drama, and I felt like we kind of needed to break it down a little bit there's still not that much. That is about as much as like what I could find. I'm sure as we go along more will come out. If you have learned any information about what is going on, definitely let me know, because this is currently the drama, the ongoing situation right now, and this is what I could find. So anyway, that's kind of all that I have, and they're cleaning in the hotel rooms next to me. So we're gonna wrap this up. It's such a bad situation. It's such a bad situation because, like I said, Asian Americans especially are getting a lot of crap for being Asian, and it really sucks when something else like this comes out, because it's giving people another reason to be jerks to an entire culture of people, and it is messed up. It is messed up. It's so frustrating. And so you just kind of hope there's a legitimate reason about why this is happening. It doesn't seem like there is, but you hope. You really hope that they're gonna come out with something and be like, this is why. This is really why. And you're like, please, please let it be legitimate and this not be another scandal. It's just... So anyway, if you have any more information about this kind of situation that is going on, and you have any articles, definitely drop them down below. Or if you've heard anything comes out that I'm missing, I'm kind of just shocked right now. I'm absolutely shocked right now. Anyway, that is everything I have today. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future content. Hopefully no more of these types of videos. They're not super fun to do. I know I've just done one, and I'm just like, I did not think I'd be coming on here talking about this today. Also, if you're a big fan of the Hugo Awards, I would definitely like to know more information. If you have any other information that I missed, and maybe what makes it a little more legitimate, if I'm missing any structure or missing any like just general information about it, I would definitely want to hear about that. And yeah, just kind of what your thoughts are. Keep it nice in the comments. Don't, like I said, this is not a reason to be racist against an Asian culture. It's just not, like, that's not, no, don't do that. Be nice in the comments. Talk about it constructively. Yeah, so that is everything I have today, and I was gonna say I hope you enjoyed the video, but not really. I hope you're frustrated like I am for these authors. And yeah, like I said, make sure you subscribe, make sure you like the video, and make sure you leave a comment down below with any information, and I'll see you guys in the next video.